welcome to Framework. I am Al Schwartz. With me, as always, is John Bernard.
Ahoy, hoy.
Hey there. We're here to talk about Alien Earth today. The FX series that just ended last week by Noah Hawley, who is known for FX's Fargo series and Legion, his sort of pseudo X-Men spin-off series. And this is his more proper Alien spin-off series.
Yeah, I was excited for this. I was ready to go. I was thinking like, yes, Noah Hawley, Fargo, good. I love the way he replicates the tone and vibe of the Coen brothers on that show. Taking that and applying it to the Alien franchise seems like a really good, profitable idea. Like, this should work.
This seemed like a great framework project because I am one of the biggest boosters of his Fargo TV series that I have ever encountered. And you, I think, are one of the biggest fans of the Alien franchise that I know of.
Yeah, I think so.
The Fargo series to me is really kind of miraculous in how it recreates without slavishly imitating something that is really hard to recreate and imitate. And Alien would seem to present a cleaner template for just do this thing that is pretty well established and is more straightforward than there are very different strains of Coen brother movies, as we enumerated in our Coenoscopy. Mm-hmm. I wish I could say that this was ultimately as successful as the Fargo show. To me, it started to feel more and more like Legion did over time, which is a show that started off with some really intriguing high concept ideas and then sort of drowned in them. And I lost track of how am I supposed to care about any of the actual plot going on here. And if I can't do that, there's too much of it. You can't operate in a purely thematic realm of ideas where the plot does not make sense for a full season of television.
I mostly agree with this. I think my diagnosis of what went wrong here, and I don't know. I liked the show. I enjoyed myself watching it, but I think ultimately that Alien appears to be a franchise that would adapt very well to television. There is an expansive, interesting sci-fi world. There's a sort of a tradition of big casts that you are following around. But I think a subterranean level, this is not especially well suited to long-form storytelling. There is a slasher movie quality to an Alien film. All of them. You have a dwindling
one of the
cast.
biggest problems the Alien franchise has as an expanded universe is the title. Because that front and center is the xenomorph, which is a very, very small part of this universe, really. And
necessarily,
the things that make most sense from a storytelling and thematic perspective to explore are all like the corporate dystopia stuff that the Alien stuff is just brushing against the side of. And if you have to keep the Alien that central, then you're kind of getting at there. That also locks you into the slasher movie aspect, which is one of the most repetitive genre structures there is.
And it's difficult to do over 8 hours. If you kind of know the structure of the thing, if what the purpose of the thing is that, we're going to end up, with an alien running amok and killing off various cast members, ones you like, ones you don't, who you want to see get their comeuppance. It's all kind of baked into the premise. And I would say Alien Earth is an attempt to subvert that to some extent.
In doing so, it gets away from slavishly recreating Alien and makes the Alien kind of incidental to recreating Westworld.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so starting at the beginning. You are immediately introduced to, I think, a very interesting hook, which is that we've got cyborgs, we've got, synthetics, which, we're familiar with from the movies. And then this third thing, which they call hybrids occasionally. And that is a human consciousness downloaded into a robot body.
This was the Jeffrey Wright character in Westworld.
Was it?
That's what the twist is that, he is actually the creator of these things that transfer his consciousness. In a way that didn't make any sense because they transfer his consciousness in and then wiped his memory. So he has amnesia. And
To what end?
All right, fine. Some sort of brainwave pattern thing that matches the other guy, but he doesn't have his memories, doesn't have his body. That's not the same person. Anyway, that's a completely different thing.
I think it's a better show than Westworld. Let me put it that way.
Yes, I do too. I think you're right that laying that out in the opening crawl of the premiere, the focus here is these sort of 3 different types of robotic life. The fully robot body and mind, human mind with some robot attachments on the body is the cyborg, and then robot body with a human mind implanted in it is the new thing, the hybrids.
Yeah.
That's all well and good. I think the problem that we run into that reveals itself at the end of the season is that we are asked to put in a position where the hybrids, the kids, are our most sympathetic point of view characters. And unfortunately, the representatives of the cyborg and the synthetics, being Morrow and Timothy Oliphant's Android character, are the 2 best characters on the show.
Oh, yeah.
by a country mile.
That's absolutely
But our
true.
sympathies are asked to be elsewhere, and that kind of becomes an issue over time.
I mean, I think that there was a lot of juice in the premise with the hybrids. I think there was a really interesting hook here, which is, they're kids with fatal illnesses, with they are dying children that have been uploaded, and I mean, there's that appears on the surface to be a humanitarian kind of thing, but it's if you peek at it even a little bit, think about it even a little bit, it's pretty fucked up. There's an existential tear to that premise, and it's an interesting place to put your central characters in an alien show where they have bodies that can be damaged, beyond human capacity, and the character can persist. They don't really make much of that in the show, but it's sort of an uncomfortable place to be, especially when you factor in that they're all 10-year-old kids, basically. And you're looking at, actors in their mid to late 20s playing 10-year-old children.
And they do, which I think almost across the board, immense success. I think that those performances are pretty incredible, give or take one. Well, okay. The one who gets his face melted by the bugs. The
one no one cares about. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the show.
And then the dark-haired one who's sort of like angling to be the favorite. They're fine. I think the other 4, Sydney Chandler, the Smee and Slightly, the sort of dumb boys, and the red-haired girl are all giving pretty incredible children and adult body performances.
Yeah, I'd agree with that breakdown. I kind of have to say Smee in particular is unbelievably good. Like that was an excellent playing a child performance there.
Physically, he's so good at putting the kids, the way he kicks his feet or like impulsively hugs a friend is there. I think the Indian actor that is doing, I guess, Slightly, I think it's so hard to keep these names straight for me.
They all have 3 names.
Yeah, his vocal and the vocal inflections he does. So the kid he's in the worst spot and he's like doing the most pleading in a childlike way and sulking and
tough role.
He's doing it tough role. I think he does an excellent job. And I'd never seen Kyle Chandler's, Coach Taylor's Nepo baby before.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, kind of odd looking features I find
striking.
But holds the screen in a way.
I also sort of the writing on that character was rough, man. But I think that Sydney.
Oh yeah, an impossible really, characterization to actually land in the end.
Yeah, but I think that the Sydney Chandler does a pretty remarkable job of threading the needle there and making that character make sense as we're watching it. At least, once again, it's the sort of thing you peek at a little and you're like, oh, wait a minute, which is true of a lot of the plot develops in this. I'm afraid.
Yeah. I would love to lay the troubles I had with this series at the feet of nepotism, but I think ultimately Hawley's got to eat the charge on this one. That the writing for that character is such that it's not like it's hard enough. Okay, adult woman playing a child in a body that is a robot.
Yeah.
Tough one already before you start actually introducing, interesting questions, but vocalizing. Well, so these children are going to grow up mentally, but also there are these bodies now that don't have hormones.
Right.
So they won't go through puberty in the same way. And what does that entail?
These are the interesting questions. This is why this is such a cool hook and such a sort of creepy hook. And I guess it is ultimately Boy Cavalier's whole point. That's why he's doing this creepy thing, is to keep them children in some ineffable way, so they don't actually go through the process of growing up. Will that maintain the sort of childlike imagination and creativity, I guess, is what he vocalizes.
I don't know that he cares about creativity that much. I think it's more about children are easier to control.
Really? You think because it seems like there'd be so many problems inherent in the child. I don't know. He vocalizes it at some point that he wants them to maintain that childlike purity and imagination, which could be bullshit, as many things coming out of Boy Cavalier's mouth are. So I guess
he's made it his brand that he is the boy genius and he is youth and all that. So I guess it makes sense for him to
have a creepy stable of lost boys to hang out with because he's Peter Pan. I mean, boy, do they put a fine point on that. They have many conversations about that in this.
Yeah, it's heavy-handed. I think ultimately the Peter Pan stuff didn't need to be name checked as frequently as it was. It could have been something closer to subtext, although it's going to be text regardless if you're using any of these names.
Toodles and Slightly, yeah.
Yeah. For me, the biggest problem with what sort of derails the show for me with that character is by the end of it, she's not just in a superhuman body that's quasi-indestructible. She also has godlike mind powers that can control all technology in a technological dystopia,
and all the aliens,
and can command the loyalty of beasts, of our titular creatures, and that just seems like a lot. I mean, even just the being able to control the computers in the computer dystopia, she's got the Infinity Gauntlet already.
It's some of the most Deus Ex Machina stuff, quite literally. That you've seen in a while, I would say. This is, it's a get out of jail free card for all the writing, and it's maybe the least interesting thing they could have done.
Very ill defined why she has those abilities and the other kids don't.
That's true. But, I mean, at least they explain, sort of, why she can talk to aliens. I mean, yes. I don't know why she can do it over, several miles away, but she can.
Right. And again, I'm not nitpicking that I don't think they did enough, shoe leather to justify her talking to the aliens.
No, they just shouldn't.
It's that I don't. It's that I don't know that the narrative gets a lot out of her being on good terms with the aliens. I've seen some comments from Hawley already talking about how don't get too attached to that. This is going to be a horror movie thing after all, and he flat out said in an interview, the smart money is not on that alliance turning out well in the end. So okay, the problem is that this season ended really abruptly with things in flux, and we're not going to pick it up for 2 to 3 years the way things are going in the TV industry right now, if at all.
I actually can't say how damaging I thought the finale was to this as a whole. I went into this thinking this was a closed loop, this would be one story, a complete, one narrative arc with a beginning, middle, end, as Fargo has been. And maybe it's my bad for not doing the research on that. It just seemed like a natural thing to do, given the limitations of an alien story, given the story they've decided to do is on this island compound, it seems like a place, it felt like they were building to an ending. It felt like that it was about to go bad in a big way, and that we would get to see this, tech bro guy eviscerated. Yeah, that was the inherent promise of this fucking season. No, nothing changes. But they change, I guess, in the same way that everything changes episode to episode. But there's no sense of completion or finality at the end of the season, and that in retrospect, kind of really damages the whole thing for me.
Yeah. We don't see anybody get it in the finale.
Not one person.
Except for well, no, and David Rizdal's corpse gets killed again by a different monster. Yeah.
I thought that too. There is the one character, Siberian, which is Hermit's buddy from the paramilitary unit.
If you say so.
Umbrella swiped by the one of the aliens.
There was you know what?
You know what? She could be alive though. The way this show works.
I think that there was like a spray of blood spurting out of there as it crunched and it crunched.
She's probably.
So I would doubt it, but yeah. I mean, look, we're not here to complain about the monster killing that we did get.
Right. No, I don't want to complain about that. It's frustrating that all these villains that we've set up, this cavalcade of black hats, not a single one couldn't take out one of these guys in the finale. That was a disappointment to me. Because, it's the inherent promise of this thing. And I'm not engaged with anybody on this show enough to be excited to wait 2 years for it. And,
right.
And yeah, so I mean, and again, I don't think that the narrative is suited to long format either. Like if it was just an 8-hour single story with a beginning, middle, end, I would probably be coming out of this with a lot more positive energy, a lot more just like, yeah, that mostly worked for me. And as such, I got the blue balls, man. That's it. But
yeah, and that cage of villains being over full at the end does also recall the Westworld experience for me, because it did feel like this is the thing where we'll spend a whole season building up to this. We'll get some antagonist will be killed there, but also it's immediately teased that they're coming back in a different body or whatever, and we can't actually be rid of any of these things because of the way that whole world is constructed. And more directly than Westworld, I guess, it recalled the sort of disastrous finale of House of the Dragon, and how that, especially the last season, left things for what felt like the middle of a sentence. And now we have to wait way too long to pick up on that for it to be like as a cliffhanger.
Right.
It didn't do a great job of landing the plane on that season, and now we have way too long of a gap to bring us to the next one, and that's going to be brutal in the sort of short attention span age that we live in.
I mean, it may not even happen, And if that's the case, then this is a real bummer. Like, if this is the end of the Alien Earth story, then I kind of think you have to call it a failure, because it's not a complete thing. It's so elliptical, and couldn't be bothered to even really complete its season arc as such. I don't know. I mean, the Lost Boys are on top at the end, I guess. And that's about as much as an answer as we get.
Yeah, but like, of course they are. I've seen Westworld.
Right.
That was obviously where this was heading. And what do you think of the one-off episode, the flashback to the Alien remake on the ship?
I thought it was all right. I mean, I think that until the finale, I would say all the episodes were at least all right. Like I was mostly pretty hyped on it, and it seemed like a really cool idea. It'd be like, yes, well, we'll just do the alien thing then, do the thing that we all are familiar with, and it was fine. Good cast, I suppose, doing dumb stuff. I really like that eye creature, so there's a lot of eye creature. That makes me happy. Little bugs shooting pus into drinking water. Good stuff. All the gross out stuff I thought worked really well. Michael Smiley, fun to see him. More Morrow, always good. Ultimately, I have seen that thing many times, certainly in the original Alien and all subsequent Alien films. So I would say that it functioned, but I wasn't blown away by it.
And I think it lost something for me being a structure as a flashback, where it's like, okay, some of the suspense here is gone because it's foregone conclusions. I know.
It would be interesting if that was the first episode of the show.
Yeah. I considered that. I mean, it would be weird. It would be almost a prequel.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have introduced any of the main characters in the opening.
Well, Morrow, who is ultimately the most interesting character on the show.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the things the show did, I think, did really well, or the great ideas it had. It's the Morrow character, the Kirsch character, and then introducing other aliens besides the xenomorph, the eyeball guy you talked about. That was a really good and I think necessary thing to make this function at all as a television series.
Mm-hmm. And I think the kids in the hybrid bodies was a good idea too. Difficult to write.
Right off the bat, I had a trepidation that like this is going to be hard to fully to land.
They did have trouble with that, yes, but it was a compelling hook and not something I was overly familiar with. So
yes,
the fact that they were kids, I thought was that creeped me out in a good way, and interesting tension for the season. Some good, interesting performances came out of it, but yeah, a tough one to write, and I don't think they quite nailed it. But Morrow they nailed. That guy's great, huh?
Yeah. Great villain. Different kind of villain for the Alien franchise, introducing new lore with like how his cybernetics work. It's kind of a minor thing, but in these remix, reboot, spin-off things, any sort of expansion of it is kind of a nice spice. I love that. I liked his villain plan. I mean, ultimately, he ended up functioning to me a lot like a villain from one of the seasons of Fargo.
I can see that.
Sort of extorting the kid by threatening his family, and like, oh, this is something I could see Billy Bob Thornton or David Thewlis sort of doing something very similar to this in their seasons of Fargo. He
just projected an enormous amount of danger, competence too. Like he's scary because, he's an imposing dude, first off, but he's also quite clearly very capable, which he proves in basically every scene. And
he's
very
intense,
knowledgeable.
he's focused.
Yeah, like he knows what he's doing. Very deliberate and quite clearly does not have a moral compass. It must have been tempting to make him full on Ash, a synthetic, and they didn't. Which means he's this, he's a company man in a sense, even as they're kind of screwing him over. But he's committed. He reminded me a little of the Samuel L. Jackson and Django character. And
oh yeah, I can see that a little bit. But like in a way, it's filtered through a very like specific to this franchise and sci-fi world element to it. Because he's not just a figure of just malevolence for its own sake or anything. He's got this angle of he signed up for this incredibly dystopian job where he had to leave everything, his entire life behind, and can't get back to it until it's all gone to ash. And that leaves him in a spot where the success of the company is the only thing he has left to give his life and his sacrifice, everything he's given up, meaning.
In for a penny.
And that makes him, he's monomaniacal. That makes him monomaniacal. It also makes him kind of a free agent that he could end up turning on Yutani in the second season if we ever get one, and it could still be believable. That is a believable, to me, motivation for his zealotry, but also it's brittle enough that it could break and turn him in different ways.
Yeah, he actually could. I mean, they could justify a face turn for this guy if they wanted. I kind of don't want them to because he's so effective as a bad guy.
Yeah, I'm not like advocating for that necessarily. I'm just saying, but the fact that is open, is part of what gives the character juice. That he's not predictable. That the thing that made Game of Thrones so compelling in its height is that there were so many figures like this that you can see why they were the way they were, but you could also see that breaking in a different direction. And then you get a character like Ramsay Snow, for example, where there is no potential for a face turn there whatsoever, and that just becomes a little more predictable, even though it's supposed to be a figure of unpredictable malevolence there. He doesn't. That character does not have the juice that a Jaime Lannister has. That could go any which way.
Right. I mean, I guess Boy Cavalier would be this show's version of a Ramsay Snow.
Yes.
That guy's not going to end up being a good dude at the end. You're fairly certain of that. But everyone else, I would say, works really well in the Shades of Grey. Like every single bad guy on this show was kind of structured in a way where that, they had a point of view that made sense for them and was compelling.
I mean, one of the greatest feat this show pulled off narratively maybe is that it got me to actually pull for Yutani against Boy Cavalier as the new villain so effectively. And so I guess maybe that's the thing. I mean, you know what? I don't want to say there's no way Cavalier has any sort of face turn, because one, Weyland Yutani is still the ultimate villain of the Alien universe.
Right. Yeah.
That's sort of as close to canon as we have here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch those later seasons,
they fucking left him alive. So,
right.
Yes,
you watch those later seasons of Legion too.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to remember what exactly was going on there. One thing I do remember is they started playing around with the idea that maybe our hero David, I guess the titular Legion, is a greater evil than the Shadow King, who was the big bad villain of the first thing. And then some of our other more sympathetic characters have to work with the Shadow King against our titular hero. And so that is something that Hawley has within him to attempt. I'm not going to say he pulled it off necessarily on Legion, because I was not on board with that really anymore. So again, not that I'm pulling for it or even predicting it, but part of something I like about Hawley, even though I don't think he bats 1,000, is that even being pretty familiar with his work, I don't know which way he's going to go with a lot of these things. There's there's genuine unpredictability to a season of Fargo, even though they're 5 seasons in. I should have a pretty solid sense of how they're going to resolve at this point.
Well, Morrow and Boy Cavalier are plainly bad guys this year.
Mm-hmm.
Kirsch, though,
yes,
he's dancing around that the entire show. And I'm a little tempted to say they just didn't really square this character or figure it out, maybe. But I always found him compelling, and I don't know how much of that is just Tim Oliphant. Frankly, underused.
It's a great role for him.
But man, I loved watching him in this. I wanted nothing but him. I wanted a whole episode about this character, and they refuse to kind of do that. They don't really fill you in on what his deal is at any point. He does some things that are compelling and interesting and suspicious, and you don't know where his loyalties are. Season ends, and I still don't. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what his deal is at all.
And if we never get a second
his
season,
Rutger Hauer hair, though. Yeah,
that is great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we never get a second season, then you're right. That character will end up feeling a bit like he was doing just kind of whatever the plot needed him to do to justify how this futuristic dystopian tech corporation didn't have proper surveillance over any of its most valuable property and specimens. And so they need him to be turning off the surveillance so that some of these things, these other developments, can occur off the radar. But the fact that it was on his radar and he was keeping it away from, his boss, that had compelling implications. It was mysterious.
Yeah, I want to know what was up there. Does he have an agenda that we are unaware of? Are his sympathies ultimately with the hybrids? Was something that was also danced around a little bit. I want to know. I want to know what this guy thinks. Like aliens. This franchise, the synthetics aren't really good most of the time. Even Bishop is following his programming. It just happens to be benevolent programming. And that's kind of always been the case. And so it's rare to have one of them that is such a mystery. And I don't know if that was just sloppiness, though. Now that it's over, I'm not sure if that was to an end or if it was just they needed him to function in certain ways narratively, and so he did.
Well, you say it's rare, but I mean, is that the basic trajectory of the David character in the Prometheus and Covenant films, that we're supposed to be sort of ambiguous what his motivations were, and then they're gradually revealed to be more and more nefarious?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. In retrospect, when you watch Prometheus now, having seen Covenant and knowing what his deal is more fully, I would say the writing is pretty plainly on the wall. But yeah, I don't know. Prometheus is a bit of a mess as well, so
right.
that's sort of
we can't use Prometheus as a model of narrative efficiency either. That's the issue. Yeah, but all the best scenes on the show are when Oliphant and Morrow get to square off with each other. So,
and Eyeball Guy, don't forget when Eyeball Guy's doing stuff. He's the third favorite.
I love that brief moment when after the flashback episode where people started to think maybe it was a nice eyeball alien.
Yeah.
That was trying to warn them about the xenomorph.
Yeah, that was fun. I don't know. I think he was pretty horrifying from the start, that thing. But yeah, I loved how much importance they gave it as it went on. And it is another sort of dangling plot thread that I'm disappointed in. Like that he takes over the Dr. Sylvia's corpse at the end. That's pretty disappointing.
I don't know. That was the one aspect of it. Like, hey, at least that's a proper cliffhanger. Like,
sure. I mean,
it promises something kind of concrete for next year that we definitely will have to get back to.
I guess. I mean, I am like he took over Michael Smiley on the ship. Eyeball Guy did, and didn't seem to have much capacity for speech or any of the stuff that you might expect. I guess it didn't close the door on that. He also can't go incognito because, he's a big creepy eye that pops that you can't help but notice. Part of the design of the thing. So I don't know. I mean, is this guy going to come back and be a shambling corpse for, and so for however long they need him in season 2? This is another frustration, man. Cliffhangers.
I mean, it was Cavalier was trying to determine if putting in a human body would allow it the power of or the capacity for human speech.
Right.
I think putting it into one of the core cast members of the show has to indicate that that will be the case. We'll be able to speak in some.
Probably.
Putting those other creatures in here.
Great idea.
More space monsters. We're always going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's also a great way of, like I said, expanding this property within like the bounds of the title that the title puts on it.
Yeah,
like,
they're all aliens.
It can still be an alien movie and not be a xenomorph show. And that's ultimately, that's good for the xenomorph. I think decentering it. It allows it to be, because the problem with the xenomorph now is that what was originally the most incredible alien, genuinely alien creation in science fiction, its life cycle is now so much better known to us than, I don't know, like I couldn't tell you how a ladybug is hatched and born and dies and all that, but I can give you every bit of the xenomorph metamorphosis process.
I'm a little worried that they're, and this is just, I don't even know if I'd blame Alien Earth for this, but I think that by familiarity with this thing, it is definitely, it's very hard to make the xenomorph scary in the way it used to be. It becomes, it's Jason Voorhees. In parts of this show, they actually felt like they were bored of the xenomorph. It's like, oh yeah, xenomorph shows up, he does what he does, So it's a room of soldiers with masks on that we don't know. Xenomorph's going to come in and kill all them.
Yeah, they yada a couple of xenomorph massacres.
Exactly, and they're much more interested in Eyeball Guy or acid bugs or any of the other new aliens. It feels like,
the super mosquitoes that or ticks, whatever that.
They're cool.
Suck them dry.
And I don't know if this is avoidable either at this point. Where we've had 7 alien movies and now a show, and God knows how many video games and other media. So I don't know if that's a complaint per se. I think that expanding is the right way to go. I'm just curious where that leaves the old xenomorph ultimately, aside from just he's the guy on all the marketing material.
Yeah, I'm saying my gripe with the xenomorph's use in this show is not that it's not more centralized. It's not more the focus of it. It's just that for the back half of the show, it is so thoroughly placed on the side of the angels, which is not, to me, the best, the most interesting place to have it. I mean, not necessarily, I guess not even for the xenomorph's sake. It's giving Wendy too many superpowers, and the hero shouldn't have as many advantages over the villains as she ends up with.
Well, there is an interesting dynamic which is in play here, where these guys have robot bodies, so the aliens don't generally want to kill them. Like, they're not targeted by the aliens unless they're aggressive.
Which doesn't make any sense to me, really, because it's not like the aliens are killing all the other humans to eat them. I mean, they talk about we're food to them.
Well,
but that's never seemed to be the case.
They're not hibernating inside synthetics either, though.
True. Yeah, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
There's no reason for the aliens to kill them unless they're being aggressive towards them.
Yeah. Well, but there wasn't really a reason for the alien to slaughter the Victorian fop party in the early going. Like it wasn't doing that to plant eggs.
Yeah.
It was just doing it because it was feral. That's the implication.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, but whatever.
That was
they're
great.
synthetic.
I like that
they
very
don't
much.
trigger. It's whatever.
I like that.
Yeah. Again, it's just a little something new in the world building of these familiar worlds is what we're like kind of keeps us locked into these brand expansions.
Yeah. So, I mean, if this had been a closed loop, as I said, I think I probably would be here being like, yeah, what's the problem? This was great. This was a lot of fun. Without that, it feels incomplete and dragged out, I suppose, and feels like, they're kind of have to repeat a lot of stuff over and over, just do similar beats, similar things. And they came up with a lot of good ideas for this. There's a lot of cool stuff at play, good actors, and such. But ultimately, I don't want to call it a miss, though. I had fun watching it. I'll watch the next one when it comes out in, 2.5 years.
2027. Yeah.
Fucking damn. But, I am a little let down. And I think that's kind of a new thing. It's just fresh off the finale. A little let down.
Well, I said it doesn't feel new to me because it's like, oh, yeah, this is how I felt after House of the Dragon.
I mean, sure. But, for Hawley tends to land the endings.
That's true. I mean, well, every season of Fargo is a closed loop like that. So.
Which is good. It's a really good thing.
It's great.
And I mean, honestly, if I would be down with if you continue Alien doing it as an anthology. I mean, not in this case. Now you have to follow up. But like as a conceptual place for this thing to start, you want to just go to an entirely different place and do a different Alien story with a different cast next time. I think that would have been awesome. Same way they do Fargo.
Yeah, there's a version of Alien Earth that would be fun, I think, that is like the anthology Fargo thing, but it's like we can do 5 seasons of this. Each one focuses on one of the different mega corporations. Yeah. With a new cast of characters, potentially new. What's their relationship to aliens and to robots? And they can be different aliens at all times. There's lots of we've established as far back as 1986 that we're sending Marines on bug hunts all the time.
So I will continue with this show if I'm allowed to. But I don't know. You mentioned I'm a huge Alien fan. I feel my enthusiasm is starting to wane, I'm afraid. Several decades in at this point. I kind of think we might have said it all, man. Certainly with regards to the xenomorph. The world as a whole, I think there might be some juice there. I mean, I certainly like the art design. I like the opportunities it gives for actors and dark horror aspects to be put on screen. I like all that. I mean, as I often feel about this sort of thing, I kind of wish somebody would just make the new thing, though. Make a movie that hits in the way Alien in 1979 does, and stop redoing this stuff. But that's just not the age we live in. Yeah. Exactly. That's just the curse of our times. Yeah. But yes, we are going to be sitting here for the foreseeable future, wondering if there's juice left in these expanded universes, even as they're not done terribly. That's totally fine. The show. Yeah. Okay. Are we? I don't know. I think that's more or less it. Right. I mean, I don't know. Any big thoughts? Anything else? I think we can circle back and touch on in 2.5 years. There you go. All right. Very good. Thank you for listening, and